You don't stop fascism by ignoring it or copying it. You stop it by fighting it at the ballot box, and where necessary, you fight the fascists in the streets. So I've been travelling across the country. I've been to Devon, Chingford, Sheffield, Leeds, Newcastle, but between you and me, I'm pretty sure Liverpool tonight's going to be my favourite. This city is very close to my heart. My great uncle came to the Albert Docks over 70 years ago from Kashmir, the reason I'm standing here today. And it's also the reason why I support the best team in the world. That's Liverpool. I genuinely can. I've already divided the room. Great start. But for my sins, I'm yet to taste the local delicacy, a pan of scouse. So if anyone can point me in the direction of a halal pan of scouse, I would be very grateful. Talk to me afterwards. Now I know that the past few weeks, many of you have felt frustrated and disappointed about the launch process. I felt that too. So let me be absolutely clear, my motivation has always been to strengthen our collective project to build a genuinely democratic socialist party worthy of the struggles that have come before us, to fight for maximum member democracy. It has been regrettable, and for my part, I want to say I'm truly sorry. Fascism is growling at the door, and if an election was held today, Nigel Farage would be our Prime Minister. So the stakes are too high for failure to be an option, and both Jeremy and I are absolutely committed to making this project succeed, and we can't wait to see you here all over again in November for our conference. A mass party of the left. And as the great Bill Shankly said, the socialism I believe in is everyone working for the same goal and everybody having a share in the rewards. That is the spirit we must revive, not just on the football pitch, but in every workplace, in every community, and in every street. Liverpool understands this better than anywhere. This is the city that stood up to Margaret Thatcher. This is the city... This is the city that faced down fascists when they marched here. This is a city that knows solidarity isn't just a slogan, it is a way of life. When others turned their backs, Liverpool stood up for justice, and we will always remember the 97, and we thank the Hillsborough families. We thank the Hillsborough families for their campaign for truth and justice. We salute your courage, and we will always stand with you. And today, in the face of war, racism, and economic cruelty, it is Liverpool's defiance that we must channel again. Because millions of people are fed up. In fact, they should be. In fact, they should be fucking furious. Furious! Furious with life getting harder and harder, with the cost of living soaring while wages stagnate. Furious with being ripped off at every turn by privatised water companies, profiteering energy firms, bus and train operators hiking up fares, and landlords and mortgage lenders squeezing us dry. Furious of waiting weeks for a GP appointment and languishing months for a hospital waiting list. Furious of boarded up high streets, shuttered libraries and community centres, even public toilets locked up. Our shared spaces have been left to rot because councils simply can't afford to keep them alive. Furious of paying more and more while getting less and less, of being made to shoulder the burden of a crisis we did not cause, and furious of being told that there is no alternative to a system that simply doesn't work. Millions across the country are crying out for real change. When Jeremy was elected Labour leader, it gave us all hope. Hope that politics could be about honesty and decency again, about peace, solidarity and working class power. And that's why the establishment waged an all-out war against the left and tried to drive us out of public life. Many have now lost faith that democracy can deliver for them. They see politicians of all stripes as self-serving frauds, more interested in freebies like Sabrina Carpenter tickets or getting dressed by their rich mates. For reference, I paid for my own suit. It's from H&M, not Lord Wahid Ali. To the far right, not because they are all hardened fascists, but because there is a vacuum in our politics. For some, reform looks like the only alternative, but the truth is reform is just another wing of the establishment, funded by billionaires and aristocrats, fronted by a millionaire stockbroker and ex-public schoolboy, Nigel Farage. It peddles racism to distract us from its real agenda. More privatisation, more deregulation, more handouts for the super rich, more cuts for everyone else. This is who they are. And the ground for this was laid by decades of politics as usual, with neoliberalism, just different colour rosettes. We're told that there's no money for housing, there's no money for free school meals, there's no money for the NHS. Yet, somehow, there's always money for war, always money for corporate bailouts, and always money to give tax breaks to the super rich. Why is that? Why is there always money for war and never for the poor? And stealing our scarce resources, demonised by the media and political establishment. And the results are clear for everyone to see. The largest fascist mobilisation in Britain in recent memory. Racist attacks in our towns and women and children attacked for the colour of their skin. This hasn't come out of nowhere. It has been emboldened by sections of the media and politicians who scapegoat migrants, Muslims and minorities every single day. Reform is their parliamentary and political vehicle, and Farage gives them their parliamentary face. But the politics behind it is the same poison that fuels the far right in our streets. And I spoke at the Tommy Robinson demonstration because we have a duty to fight back. Because if we don't, fight back, the far right will keep filling that vacuum that has been created by Labour's capitulation and a broken political system. And we must be clear, you don't stop fascism by ignoring it or copying it. You stop it by fighting it at the ballot box, and where necessary, you fight the fascists in the streets. By organising, by uniting working class people around a positive vision, and by building a movement that is broad and rooted in solidarity. In the 1970s and 80s, people came together through the Anti-Nazi League to drive back the National Front. That's the courage and unity we need again, an anti-fascist league for the 21st century. And we need our unions to step up. Sorry, but it's not good enough to have union logos on leaflets and banners. We need coaches, and we need people to fill the streets. Because as our history shows us, when we organise, we win. The far right thrive when politics is reduced to scapegoating, to division and fear. They want us to turn against our neighbours, to make us blame migrants and minorities for problems caused by the political elite. And the only way to beat that is to cut through the noise and to speak directly to people's lived realities. Housing, insecure work, wages that don't cover the bills, and the NHS on its knees. People don't need more culture wars, they need hope, they need material improvements to their lives. That is what we are fighting for. We're not here for tweaks, we're not here for lowering a few bills here and there and the sprinkling of a wealth tax. We are here for a fundamental transformation of society. The means of production controlled by and another very simple idea, the working class controlling the wealth that they produce. It's called socialism. They live class politics every single day. They see class war when their bills go up, but energy companies report record profits. They see class war when landlords hike up rents and evict families without a second thought. They see class war when bankers get bailed out, but austerity lands on their shoulders. And they see class war now when the richest 50 families hoard more wealth than half the population, and our country has more McDonald's restaurants, has more food banks than McDonald's restaurants. That's class war, and they live it every single day. So I say, let's embrace class war because it's about time we won. Left vote, but maybe they haven't noticed that it was the Labour Party who split the left. It was the Labour Party who dragged the party so far to the right that it dances to the tune of Nigel Farage, that it has revived austerity and it is directly enabling genocide in Gaza. Civil liberties. It has labelled people of conscience protesting against genocide as terrorists. They are heroes. The real terrorists are the Israeli government and everyone else who has enabled this genocide. And they've turned cruelty against migrants into performance. Filming deportations for propaganda, suspending family reunifications, and making endless concessions to hate. This is from a man who once vowed in this very city to never speak to the sun, but now licks the boot of its owner, Rupert Murdoch. Shame on him! I will never speak to the sun. I wouldn't even use it as toilet paper. Instead of standing up to cruelty, Labour tries to imitate it. Keir Starmer disgracefully used the same words as Enoch Powell, calling us an island of strangers. Shame on him and every Labour MP who went out to defend him. He claims migration has done incalculable damage. He's wrong. Migrants built this country. They are our neighbours, they are our friends, and we will never let him throw them under the bus. You'll have to come through us first. And the truth is, we're not an island of strangers. We're an island that is suffering, and we're suffering because of the likes of Keir Starmer, the political class, and the super rich who are laughing at us. Well, we're done begging for crumbs off the table. We're taking the fucking lot. And the billionaire class already have 3 parties fighting for them. It's about time the rest of us had one. working class can't be met by a Labour 2.0 that mimics its structures or limits itself to reforms within capitalism. At best, you might get some temporary gains, but it can't fix the crises of inequality, exploitation, or ecological destruction that define capitalism itself. And nationalising a few industries isn't enough. We need democratic control of the economy by workers. Because capitalism isn't just a few bad bosses or greedy companies. It is a system geared and built for private profit, not social need. And as long as this system remains, it will continue to reproduce inequality and exploitation. It is only socialism that can lay the foundation for genuine equality, solidarity, and freedom. That is what I want us to be fighting for. Our working class communities, proudly socialist, fiercely democratic, a party that builds power from below in our trade unions, in our tenants' unions, the climate movement, and the fight for Palestinian liberation. And let me say clearly, from Liverpool to London, our movement will be proudly anti-Zionist. We will stand for a free Palestine, a secular state with equal rights for all. Israel's bombs are still falling on Gaza. So peace means more than just a ceasefire. It means freedom from military occupation and apartheid. It means freedom for Palestinians to decide their own future, not war criminals like Tony Blair. So we will keep marching, we will keep boycotting, divesting, and speaking until Palestine is free and until every single person who enabled this genocide is held accountable for their crimes, because a day of reckoning will come for those who have enabled genocide. Blood is on their hands, and we will not rest until Keir, Starmer, David Lammy and the rest are in the dock at The Hague counterattacking. Diplomatic tie and relation with the apartheid, genocidal state of Israel. That means every ambassador expelled. That means every embassy shut down. Because Israel must be treated the same way apartheid South Africa was treated, as a pariah state. We cannot have normal relations with genocide, full stop. Unashamedly anti-imperialist. We know that NATO isn't about peace or security. It is an imperialist war machine that profits from death and destruction. You cannot greenwash NATO, and look at its record. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, endless wars that have made the world less safe. That's why we must argue for the immediate withdrawal from NATO. Homes, hospitals, and our future. That's why we demand wages, not weapons. We demand welfare, not warfare. And we will stand unconditionally with the oppressed, because that's what socialism is. That means saying clearly trans rights are human rights. as a wider culture war designed to divide us. And just like with migrants, just like with Muslims, just like with disabled people, the goal is always the same. Find a scapegoat so people don't look upwards at who is really holding the power. With one voice has to say, we will not play that game. We stand with trans people, we stand with migrants, we stand with the most marginalised because our power lies in our unity. We are the majority, and when we move as one, we are unstoppable. So it's not only our policies that must be radical, our whole approach must be different. Our party must be owned and led by its members. Decisions must be democratic, not stitched up in backroom deals. And our MPs must be accountable to the grassroots, and that means mandatory reselection. It must be as the voice of the movement, not its substitute, and I will always fight for maximum member democracy because it's your party, it belongs to you. Together we can build a movement strong enough to challenge state power, to dismantle the rotten establishment, to confront capitalism and imperialism head-on, and to rebuild society from the ground up. Because real change never comes from above, it is always won from struggles from below. That is our history, that's how women won the right to vote, that's how we got the NHS and the weekend. Working class people fought for those wins. That is our history, and that should inspire us forever. To have hope. Over 800,000 people express an interest in supporting your party, and those 800,000 people haven't gone away. They are cautiously watching us, and public opinion is also with us against war, against genocide, for nationalisation, for workers' rights, and for properly funded services. These battles have already been won. What we need is a united movement to bring them together, because united we are strong, united we will win. But unity doesn't happen by accident. It is built with patience, with courage, and with vision. It requires us to believe that working class people can run society better than the billionaires, the profiteers, and the war criminals that are running it today. Are immense, but so is our potential power. If we organise, if we build, if we fight, we can't just defeat the far right, we can create a society rooted in justice, equality and peace. That is the task before us, that is the potential of your party, and together we can and we will rise to meet it. Comrades, turning up tonight can't be your only contribution to this fight. I call on everyone in this room and everyone watching at home, to the 800,000 people that registered interest. Join your party, get active in your community, help us build the power we need to fight back. We need you. And I will say this with all the conviction that I have, that if we fight, we will win, because the choice is clear. It is socialism or barbarism, and we choose socialism. And I would just like to finish with one of my favourite quotes from Arundhati Roy, who says, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. Thank you, Liverpool, you'll never walk alone."